6 o'clock. This is a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is May the 20th of 2021. First item is roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Erasmo Villarreal.
Present.
Vice Chair Jorge Dominguez.
Present.
Commissioner Rafael Dueñas.
Present.
Commissioner Abraham Lugo.
Present.
Commissioner Johnny Narvaez.
Present.
Commissioner Raul Ugalde.
Present.
Commissioner Larry Dovalina.
Here.
Commissioner Daniela Sadapaz.
Here.
And Commissioner Ana Gabriela Villarreal.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you do have a full quorum.
Thank you very much. We want to welcome the new commissioner on board. Welcome to the first Planning and Zoning meeting for you. The next item that we have is the citizens' comments. Ralph, do we have anybody on the line?
Mr. Chairman, we do not have anyone at the line at this time, but there is a slight bit of a delay.
Yeah, we'll give it a minute or two. All right, is there anybody in the line?
No, sir.
All right. The next item that we have is public hearings. All right. Letter 4A, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 2A and 2B, block 1, apartment subdivision at Jackson Ranch. This is located at 6702 and 6706 Bartlett from a B3 to a B4 highway commercial district. All right, who's gonna make this presentation?
I will, sir. Vanessa
Alright.
Guerrero from your planning staff. The applicant is Gala Investment Group LLC. Juan Salinas is the representative. The property is the lot 2A and 2B, block 1, Bartlett apartment subdivision at Jackman Ranch, again located at 6702 and 6706 Bartlett Avenue. The zone change request is from B3 Community Business District to B4 Commercial Highway Commercial District. The proposed use is a medical clinic, and in this case, it is allowed by the current zone. 16 letters were sent out to the surrounding property owners, and 1 was received in opposition. This is a general location map. This is an aerial view. This is the street view. This is the zoning map. As you can see, it's designated as, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble seeing it. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a B3, of course. There's a B3, there's R2 to the west, and then there's R1 right across from Bartlett with a B1 to the northeast. The future land use map identifies this as a neighborhood mixed use with medium density to the west and low density to the east. Staff does not support the proposed zone change. The proposed zone change is not in conformance with the future land use map, which designates this area as a neighborhood mixed use, which excludes B4 zoning. There are no other B4 zoning districts in the vicinity of the site. We feel that the proposed zone may introduce uses incompatible with the adjacent lighter commercial and residential type uses, and the proposed use is also allowed by the current zone. So there's a proposed motion either to approve or deny, and there is the call-in number.
All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against,
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, staff, and members of the commission. This is Juan Salinas, here to speak in favor of the proposed zone change.
Okay. Let me ask you a quick question. The proposed use is already acceptable by the current zoning, so what's the intent?
Yes, the applicant couldn't be here with us today, and I agreed to represent them. But from what I understand, there were several different medical-related uses that they were wanting to leave their property open to. Some of which I think are allowed in a B3, and some weren't. I think there was a couple of them that required a B4 zoning, like a rehabilitation. I think there was a hospice. There were several uses there. And I think the applicant was trying to leave themselves open. It's currently an adult daycare, half of it, and the other half are doctor's offices. They've got several different doctors, a kidney doctor and another. So they were trying to leave themselves open, I guess, for any future potential uses that might require a B4.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody on the commission have any questions for either the Mr. Salinas or for the city staff?
Can we go back? Can we go back to the map?
The zoning map, sir?
Yes. I thought there was one that it said it. This is where they have that toxic exercise or something. Is that the location that we're looking at?
Well, it's right next to it, a little bit further south of it.
Oh, this is further south?
Yeah, I mean, it's right next to it, but just further south of it. It's not the same building.
And the eye clinic is to the north of this property, next to it? Dr.
Yes, sir.
Mendiola?
Yeah, that's up in the corner there, yeah.
Or is it further up?
Up on the corner of Jackman and Barnett, and that's that little strip shopping center up there.
Oh, no, it's the other way. It's,
Mendoza.
Right, you're right, it's not Jackman, it's, whatever the street up there is,
Manor or
It's to the north, yeah.
University?
it's to the north, yeah.
It's Fenwick. Yeah.
Fenwick, yeah,
Fenwick,
Fenwick. So the 1119 is that property?
Yes, sir. The one right adjacent to Dr. Mendiola's office.
And what is the medical use that you said is not allowed in the B3?
I think I don't think there was a specific use. I think they were trying to leave themselves open to several uses. I think there was a rehabilitation facility, and like a hospice. There were several of them that were on a B4, that required a B4.
Vanessa, do you know what medical uses are not allowed in the B3?
Off the top of my head, a trauma center, a hospital. Those are the only ones that kind of come up. But by and large, for the most part, dental, medical clinics, offices, they're all allowed in the B3.
I have a question for staff, follow-up to Commissioner's question.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, this is Raul. My question is, so the trauma center or the emergency room down the road on Bartlett, what zoning is that?
I'm not sure. We'd have to look it up.
Okay, is that considered a hospital, or is it considered a minor emergency or a urgent care? Yeah, can we look that up, because that would give me some data that I need.
Sure. If Rafael, if you can look that up, please. I can't really do anything with my computer because of the presentation.
I'm on it. Yes, ma'am.
It's in the same vicinity, right? It's in Bartlett. It's in the same road.
Yeah, it's on Bartlett.
Further north. Further north.
Now, my other question, Mr. Chairman, is if I know that increasing the intensity is difficult, but wouldn't the property also have to conform with other rules like parking requirements? Let's just assume that we do increase the intensity to a B4, and they want to put a bar, restaurant. They wouldn't even meet the parking requirements to even get that approved at that point, assuming that this goes through.
Yes, they would. Any proposed use would have to meet the parking requirements at the time of the issuance of the new business.
So,
Go ahead, Larry.
so even if you were to approve B4, then basically what you're saying, the property would still need to come back and meet the parking requirements that Mr. Ugalde is saying it doesn't meet. Is that correct?
Yes, when a new business comes forward, they have to go fill out a form and it's checked over by fire or zoning officers to make sure that it meets all the code requirements.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the applicant.
Really, go right ahead.
I'm just wondering if the applicant or the owner knows that there is another kind of process that they can follow in case they want to use a property and the zoning is not allowed. Like it's not necessary to have a zone change. They can always have a conditional use permit.
Yes, we hadn't discussed it, or I hadn't discussed it with them, but yes, I'm sure that they're familiar with the process, and I think that this specific applicant, like I said, was trying to leave their options open for the property. I think some of the potential uses, like an emergency care clinic, I think an outpatient may or may not be in the B4. I know, like I said, that an alcoholic rehabilitation facility, drug rehabilitation facility. I mean, there are several uses that would require a B4, but I don't think there's one specific use that they're tied to at the moment.
For clarification, this is Rafael Vidali. For clarification purposes, that site is at 7105 Bartlett, and it is currently zoned as a B3, that emergency care clinic.
Thank you, Ralph. All right.
Chairman,
so
if I may.
Just
And
a
so
minute,
the
just a minute,
emergency
one at a
care
time.
clinic is also a surgery clinic?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. We didn't hear that.
No sé yo.
The emergency care clinic that Mr. Ugalde made reference to, attached to it or within that same building is a surgical center. Or at least that's what it's advertised. Is that true? And you're saying it's allowed in the B3?
The zoning on the site that you asked for was B3.
That is correct.
And so just to clarify, the emergency clinic and a surgical clinic are allowed in the B3.
The current
because
zone
that's
on
what the
that site is
existing is.
B3. I mean, I can't open the code right now because of the presentation, but it would seem so since it's there and that's the zone that it currently has.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Second, okay, go ahead.
Yes, I have an issue with the change of zoning. That area, it's the traffic is very extreme, and one of the reasons that we have residential, which is right across the street from that particular area. Not only are we creating a hazard, but also we're creating a type of congestion that might follow. As it is right now, we have a real bad case of congestion in that area. I particularly feel that the change to a B4 is not appropriate right now. As far as the applicant, they didn't bring anything that would actually create or we might propose a change. Whatever it had been brought to this committee right now, it actually will comply with a B3. If we go to B4, then we're opening the options for, like Mr. Ugalde mentioned, to a bar or probably to maquinitas, and that will increase some of the area that will create more traffic, more people, more congestion in that area. So that being said, I personally think that it's not a good idea. We don't have any B4s there, and whatever is on that particular B3 is allowable. So why would we want to change it? That's my comment, Mr. Chairman,
All
right
right,
there.
thank you for your comment. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against, for or against. Do we have anybody on the line, Vanessa, that might still be wanting to speak on this item?
Amanda, is there anyone on the line?
No, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Guerra, not at the moment.
Nobody else is on the line who wishes to speak for or against this item. All right. Given that there's nobody else on the line and we already have one individual who's in favor of this, Mr. Salinas.
Hold on. Hi, I'm Daniela. I have a question.
Yes.
Do we have, I know you don't have availability from your computer, but I researched here on mine, and it says hospice, hospital, psychiatric hospital, care home. Those are in B4. It's not like the medical and the dental do go to the B3, but they don't go to the B4. And I try to see everything in a big panorama view, and I think if I know we don't want any maquinitas, I know we don't want any bars, but if everybody in that building is medical related and there's doctors there, I don't think the person would like or an alcohol, like a bar or maquinitas there, because the doctors wouldn't like it. So that I personally think if he wants for the future, right now he's okay with the B3, but for the future, I think he want. I'm thinking how Mr. What's your name? Salinas. Yeah, Salinas. Mr. Salinas is saying that he wants only for the future to be prepared. But basically it's for the medical area, not for maquinitas or the bar, right, Mr. Salinas? Just to be on this.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Oh, okay. That was my concern.
Unfortunately, once you change the zone to a B4, that does not preclude you from having maquinitas or a bar. I mean, that's the reality of zoning. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this is Raul. I have a comment, please.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to clarify my point. So my point is that when we go from zone changes to a more intense use and it's a vacant lot, I think we're more at risk because we don't know what's going to be there. At this point, we see what's there. We know the parking spaces that are there. My point was that if you were to go to a higher intense use on something that's existing, we know that if they try to implement a bar or any other establishment that requires a higher density in parking spaces, they wouldn't get the permit to begin with. So in my observation is that there's something that's existing there now. To go to a B4 to market the property to its full extent, I think it's low risk. And if they try to put another business that requires more parking spaces, they wouldn't comply and they wouldn't allow them to do that in the future. I think it's riskier when you go from a vacant lot to a higher intense use when you don't know what's there.
That's right.
Chairman, if I may.
Let me just say something, Johnny, real quick. You got to take into consideration that you're heading. Remember that you can always acquire additional parking as long as it's within 1,000 feet of the property. Okay? So the parking issue can be resolved in numerous ways. I mean, that's not going to be a big issue. There is solutions for it. If there is parking available in other areas within 1,000 feet. Okay? So that's that. Let me recognize Johnny Narvaez now.
Chairman, I was going to say, regardless whether it's a vacant building or an existing building, you still take a risk by changing the zoning from B3 to B4. I think if there is a proposal or a customer or a client who's interested in leasing or renting or purchasing the valuable suite, at that point, I believe that they can come before us and propose a zone change at that time if what they want to use it for is required for a B4. But at this point, to give them a B4 just because they want to open the availability for that, I just feel it's not appropriate this time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Danny McGee. May I make a comment?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Danny.
Just very quickly, I agree with the commission member that talked about the traffic. I mean, to me, the name kind of says it all. It's called Highway Commercial District. The reason it has that name, this goes years back when I used to work for this kind of work anyway, it's meant to be for businesses that are generators. And I have to agree with the comment that that's a very, very congested area. And from a traffic point of view, I'm not talking about business, but just from a traffic point of view, the last thing we need is more generators that come to these streets that are very, very limited. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, we've discussed this item back and forth sufficiently. I'm ready to other wishes to the commission.
Mr. Chairman, may
Yes,
I
sir.
speak, Dueñas?
Well, we've already had enough discussion. I think we're ready to just go ahead and have a motion on this, Commissioner. Are you ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman. This is Commissioner Dominguez. I'll make a motion to deny the zone change based on the comments that we have here and follow the staff recommendations.
Look, we have a motion. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second, advice.
Narvaez seconds the motion. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Dueñas en contra.
All right?
Sada Paz.
All right? All right, with nobody else, then the motion carries. Thank you. Next item.
Thank you.
Amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by authorizing a special use permit for a restaurant serving alcohol on lot 4A, block 1, East Hermosa, unit 3, located at 5507 McPherson Road.
Once again, the applicant is Fava Square LLC. Paulo Favarato, owner. Arturo A. Rio is representative. The property is lot 4A, block 1, Vista Hermosa, unit 3, located at 5507 McPherson Road. The request is for a special use permit. The proposed use is for a restaurant serving alcohol, and 16 letters were sent out to the surrounding property owners. None were received either in favor or against. This is a general location map. This is an aerial view. This is a street view. This is the zoning map. As you can see, it's zoned B3 with an area of R1 to the west and R2 SUZD to the east. This is neighborhood mixed use is the designation for this area, with medium density to the east and parks and low density residential to the west. Staff supports the proposed SUP. The proposed use is in conformance with the comprehensive plan's neighborhood mixed use designation. The proposed use is compatible with the mix of commercial uses already present in the area. The proposed location meets the minimum distance requirements for restaurants serving alcohol of 300 feet between the proposed use and the nearest residential district, use, park, school, or church as per land development code. The distance to the nearest residential district, use, school, or park is 690 feet. The conditions were discussed with the owner, who had no concerns. The conditions are typical for an SUP, and they're located in the staff report. Sorry, this is the proposed motion, either approval or denial, and this is the call-in number.
Good. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor or against the zone change, I'm sorry, the special use permit. Do we have anybody on the phone, Vanessa?
Amanda, anybody on the phone?
Not at the moment. They're calling in regards to another item.
So we
Not
don't
at the
have
moment, sir.
Nobody on the phone on this particular public hearing. Another 30 seconds to see if anybody wishes to on the way of calling in.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said we'll just give it a little bit to see if anybody's calling in.
Sure.
Meantime,
the-
waiting for a second, is there anybody in the commission who has any questions for staff on this particular special use permit?
I just have a comment. Ever since that place was built, it's been a restaurant and it served alcohol all this time. And I want to say it recently went to Maquinitas, and I guess I'd prefer to see a restaurant there than Maquinitas.
Okay, thank you.
I agree with Commissioner Tijerina's comment, Larry. I think that was a good comment. Yes, sir.
All
Me
right,
too. I agree.
sorry, go ahead.
I agree with both commissioners.
Thank you. Nobody else on the line yet, Vanessa? No?
No, sir.
All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
I move to recommend the motion by staff to approve.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll
Second,
second that
Dueñas.
motion.
Sorry, who seconded?
Dueña, second.
Yes, second, okay. All those who are not in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Thank you. Next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning an approximately 18.79 acre tract out of survey 2149, abstract 594. RH Range, original grantee, located south of Rock Rose Drive and west of Nogales Lane from R2 to R1 MH. All right?
I guess I won't repeat all of that.
No.
The proposed use is residential. 2 letters were sent out. No letters were received either in favor or against. This is a general location map. This is an aerial view. This is, of course, in the south. This is a street view. This is a zoning map. As you can see, it's currently zoned R2 with R1 MH. I know the colors are somewhat similar, but it's a large swath of MH to the north and agriculturally zoned land to the south with some B3 over there to the east. It's designated medium density residential with some parks and high density residential. It has multiple designations according to the future land use map. And we support this proposed zone change. The proposed residential uses are similar and compatible with the single family residential uses already in the area. The proposed district is compatible with the comprehensive plans, medium and high density residential designation for the area, and the site abuts a large area of R1MH zoning to the north. There's the proposed motion, either to approve or deny, and there is the call-in number.
This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against,
Mr. Chairman, this is Wayne. We're here on behalf of the client. We agree with staff and we look forward to your favorable consideration and are here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Right.
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman,
Go right
for the
ahead.
engineer. If I may,
Yes, go ahead.
the topography, is that area on a flood zone? And those lines, are they creek areas?
No, this subdivision, this zoning area will be a subdivision that's currently in design. It is not in the flood zone. There is a creek to the south of it, but obviously we're not building anything on top of a creek.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else on the commission have any questions for the engineer? All right, Vanessa, do we have anybody on the phone other than Wayne Mann?
I'm not hearing anything. No, correct, Amanda?
Correct, not at the moment.
Nobody else on the line. All right,
Thank you.
all right. What are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve according to staff recommendations, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Lovalina. Those who are not in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Thank you. Next item is amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 1, block 13, College Heights subdivision, unit 3, located at 1637 Vanessa Lee Drive from B3 to R1A. And, I'm sorry, from B3 and R1A to B3. Okay?
Correct, sir. The applicant is Sola Development Partners Limited. Porras Lands is the applicant and the representative. Proposed use is mini storage. We have advised the applicant that a special use permit will also be required in order for the proposed use. 13 letters were sent out and none were received either for or against. This is a general location map. This is an aerial view. This is street view. This is a zoning map. As you can see, the lot currently contains 2 zones. It's got the R1A and the B3, and the intention is to unify the lot under the B3 zone. The future land use map designates this as neighborhood mixed use. There's some low density there to the south, institutional to the north. The staff does support the proposed zone change. As I mentioned, the proposed change will unify the lot under one zoning designation. The proposed change is in conformance with the comprehensive plan's mixed use designation, which includes the B3 district. And of course, the site abuts a large area of B3 zoned area to the east. There's the proposed motion, either for or against, and there is the call-in number.
All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against this item?
Mr. Chairman, this is Wayne again. We're in support of this, and we would look forward to your favorable consideration as well. Any comments? I'm here to answer them.
Thank you. Does anybody on the commission have any questions for Wayne Nance?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman, real quick. Once we grant the B3, I understand Vanessa was mentioned that it was going to be for storage. To the engineer, is that what they're planning to do, Mr. Nance?
Mr. Commissioner, that's what this property is getting ready to be sold to somebody else. And in passing, they had mentioned that that's something that they would consider. We've informed them that they would have to get an SUP. But we're really here just to tidy up, as Vanessa pointed out, to make the entire lot B3. And if the future owner wants to follow through with a storage unit, then they know that they have to get an SUP. But I really can't speak for the future purchaser because it's not my client. But I understood that they wanted to do storage units just in passing conversation with the purchaser.
I don't have a problem with the zone change. Actually, we have a B3 right next to it, and I think it was a good idea to consolidate the whole B3 in that area. So that was my comment, and thank you for answering my question.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions from the commission? Do we have anybody else on the line who wishes to speak for or against this particular item?
Amanda, anyone on the line?
I'm sorry. No, Mr. Chairman, there's no one on the line at the moment.
All right, thank you. What are the wishes of the commission?
Commissioner Lugo, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second by Dueñas. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Next item, amending the zoning of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 4A, block 1, McPherson West subdivision, unit 3, Manor Plaza, located at 610 Manor Road from B3 to B3 PUD. All right.
Yes, sir. The applicant is Coldham Investments Limited. Christina I. Swisher is the applicant and representative. The proposed use of townhomes. The applicant proposes 14 townhome units. 13 letters were sent out. None were received either for or against. Just as a reminder, members of the commission, a planned unit development, the ordinance was recently amended to allow for more creative solutions to address affordable housing needs. The amendment was intended to eliminate minimum area requirements. It clarified and adjusted the alterations that were permitted. It clarified the site plan approval process and allowed for the Planning and Zoning Commission to allow administrative approval of minor changes, of course, by the building official. It eliminated the special use permit option for townhouses, which, as the slide mentions, was never technically permitted. And the PUD overlay is an overlay, just as a reminder. The underlying zone requirements still apply. So whatever is allowed under the underlying zone, that continues even with the addition of the PUD zone. What the PUD overlay does is allows for the following items to be amended. The percentage of masonry construction or the required colors or the construction materials of facades. It allows all of those to be varied. The minimum lot height and setback dimensions, fencing and screening types, density, parking, street and sidewalk configurations are all items that can be varied under the PUD zone. And of course, the street and sidewalk configurations must have the approval of the traffic director. The PUD site plan must be approved by the Planning Commission. So moving back to the presentation, this is a location map. This is an aerial view. This is a street view. And this is a zone map. As you can see, it is currently zone B3 and located within a large swath of B3 with RS just there to the west. This is I guess a kind of a larger view of the zoning map. The staff supports the application. The proposed use is in conformance with the comprehensive plan's designation for this area as high density residential. The proposed use is compatible with the existing surrounding uses and zones. And we did take the preliminary site plan that they sent in with the application, and we presented it to our staff and our TRB, who gave us the following preliminary comments. They mentioned that the site plan, of course, should include all the information that is required by the new ordinance. The guest parking should be addressed in the official site plan. They noticed that the street may be too narrow and maybe need to be adjusted during the site plan process. The site plan should indicate if the unit shall be individually metered for water service or easement, where the easements will be. The site plan should indicate sidewalks, must address attention, and the design should incorporate B-type curbs for ramps as needed for ADA compliance. This is the preliminary layout. Once again, this is subject to change when the official site plan comes in. This is, once again, this is, I'm sorry, this is a repeat of the comments from our TRB. And this is the proposed motion, either approval or denial. And this is the call-in number.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor or against this particular PUD change?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may, we do have Ms. Lucy Lopez who wants to speak in regards to this item.
All right.
Ms. Lopez, you may address the commission.
Yes, I've been a resident here on Merlin 315 for the last 20 years, and I'm not in agreement with the proposal right now. I don't want the city to change my zoning, and I'm not in agreement for them to build what they're wanting to build behind my house.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
A quick question to Ms. Lopez, Commissioner. Mr. Chairman. Ms. Lopez,
Go ahead.
This is Commissioner Dominguez. So you live right next, actually your back lot would be impacted by the construction or by the development?
Yes, sir. I'm on
let me mention something that actually this is a very good idea. The B3 zone with the PUD there, it's a very good idea. The only issue that I have there, it's the existing access that is very inadequate. I believe it's only 24 feet. Probably the 40 units would be too many for that area. I'm not the developer, but I would say that 6 units would be very appropriate for that area if I was to do the development. And this is only a comment, personal comment. I agree with you. There's going to be a lot of movement and there's going to be a lot of traffic behind your property. But I feel that at this particular time, what they're asking, the change of zoning, is appropriate. I think it cannot be denied because what they're asking, actually, it's doable. But it would be up to the building department and planning and zoning to review any future plans for development and to comply with the ingress and egress plus the first responders, Mr. Chairman. There has to be entrance for the first responders. That's my comment.
Vanessa, I'm sorry, I didn't get, what is the depth of this lot?
I guess if the applicant could respond to that, do we have a representative online? Let me see if let's see.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Ricardo Ramos. And
yes,
I'm the engineer proposing, I guess I'll be the engineer of record once we start the planning process and all that. But I was just listening as far as, the issue about the narrow street or issues like that. This is an access easement. It's not just this one street. There's a side street, I guess on the north side. So there's 2 means to get into this property. And then that layout that is being shown right now, we've adjusted it because we did propose, we are going to propose to remove one of those units and install the guest parking area. So we wouldn't have that issue as far as people parking on the existing road. And then we're going to propose also to put a fire lane markings on that road so nobody can park in there. And so we've looked at the comments that staff has provided, and the only one that we have an issue was the detention pond requirement. But we can settle that with the staff because if we don't disturb more than 1 acre, then we don't need to do a detention pond. So that's the other comments that they provided. We've seen them and we can comply with those too.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify for everyone, this is not the site plan. The site plan will be much more extensive and it requires a much more in-depth information. The code is very specific about all the information that is required. And so when they will have to return to apply and submit the detailed site plan, and that will go to the TRB and be reviewed by, building staff, engineering, fire. It'll be reviewed by everyone. And then once, all of those comments are addressed, then that site plan will return to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval.
Okay, all right.
This is Commissioner Alina. I too share the concerns that Mr. Dominguez has, and just for the rest of the commissioners' information, this access easement leads to a Whataburger, and it's directly behind some dental clinics that are on the front side of the property. And there's already existing traffic here, particularly during high traffic times like lunchtime. And so whoever decides to build and to occupy these buildings are going to have to fight off the other traffic that is using this as a through street to get to Whataburger or the federal credit union, Laredo Teachers Credit Union, I should say. So I do have a concern but I'm comfortable moving forward because I know the site plan has to come back and arrangements can be made to alleviate some of those problems.
Yep. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against, do we have anybody else on the line other than Mr. Ramos?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do have Mr. Luis Benavides on the line.
All right.
Mr. Benavides, you may address the commission.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me address the commission. I am and have been living for at least 20 years right across the street from there, which is 401 Merlin. My concern is the amount of traffic that is going to be generated by such a plan that you have. The area there is already cluttered with traffic, and many times it's difficult for me to get out of the garage on my house. So that would be a difficult issue. The other thing I have is that, of course, as the apartments are going to be built up, there would be a loss of privacy, not only for myself, but for my neighbors as well. Someone on the second floor, for instance, could look over into my pool area, which I would not appreciate. In addition, when I bought the land, I knew what that was zoned, and I believe that putting this or granting this PUD overlay would decrease the value of my property. I think that the zone ought to be left the way it is. I don't think it needs a PUD overlay, and I certainly disagree with this plan.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Benavides. Does anybody have any questions on the commission for Mr. Benavides? Okay. Do we have anybody else on the phone who would like to speak for or against this?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we do have Mr. Garza on the line.
All right.
Mr. Garza, you may, if you're able to speak, to address the commission.
Okay. This is Jaime Garza, 311 Norling Road. I'm also against the rezoning.
Okay.
I have a hard time hearing.
Okay. You're able to hear you.
Mr. Garza, we can hear you. You're against the zoning, right? The proposed zoning.
Go ahead, Mr. Garza, you may address the commission.
Okay. This is Jaime Garza. It's Jaime Garza. I live on 311 Norling Road. And I'm right behind also that lot. And I am also against the rezoning for the complex. And the reason is it's going to create a lot of traffic. There's already traffic as it is trying to get out of my house. And with this intensity, more difficult traffic.
Okay. All right. Is that your comment, Mr. Garza? Yes?
Excuse me?
Is that your comment, Mr. Garza?
Yes, that's my comment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there anybody else on the line who would speak for or against?
Nope. Amanda, anybody else?
Not at the moment, Ms. Guerra.
Okay. Nobody else is on the line. All right. So what are the wishes of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, based on the comments from the residents, I would like to make a motion to deny the zone change at this time. I think it's in the best of the community not to approve the zone change. That's my motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is Ugalde. Can I get a comment before motion? And I have a question for staff also.
Right now I've got a motion on the floor. Let me get a second and then
Okay, go ahead.
Is there anybody willing to second the motion?
I'll second that advice.
Advice seconds the motion. All right. Now we have comments. Go ahead, Raul.
So my comment, just to clarify, the schematic here is still subject to change. Of course, it will change. And the buildings itself, they're going to abut the commercial strip in the front, right? The Whataburger and the other dental. So there'll be a big distance between the road or the front of the door to the side of the property lines of the single-family home. Is that correct? This is a question for staff.
As I said, this might all change.
Okay, it may change. So, as far as traffic concerned, so anything that's allowed in a B3 right now would generate traffic because there's a high intensity.
Correct.
Okay, and the other question with the easement. So this easement right now is being used as an exit and entrance, or just one way, or?
Oh,
It's labeled as an access easement.
It's both.
It's both ways. Okay, so are there any anything that the planning or building department can do to label it a one-way if this proposal goes through?
I think in the site plan process we can. That's something that we can address.
Okay, I'm comfortable with the proposal. I think it's a good fit for the. So my other question with the PUD. So if the PUD rules didn't exist or weren't changed, then the applicant would just, before in the past last year, they would just have to come and get a conditional use permit and no zone change. Is that correct?
No, the way it was done previously was they would have to downzone to an R2 that would allow for the special use permit, and then they would have to get the special use permit to allow for the smaller lot sizes.
Got it. Okay. Okay, I'm good with the comments, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. You're all familiar with what the motion was, right? All right, and I'm gonna ask for the vote. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All right, with none heard, then motion carries. All right, the next item is amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning the north one half of lot 2, block 338, Western Division located at 1703 Santa Isabel from M1 to R1.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, the previous motion was to deny it, and that's the motion.
Yeah, I'm through that. Yeah.
That was the motion that was made. Yes.
The motion was to deny, and that's what we had unanimous vote to deny.
Right. That's right.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So now we got the next item. You're gonna make a presentation, Vanessa?
Yes, sir. Miguel A. Estrada is the owner. Sergio Luján is the applicant representative. The property description is the north half of Lot 2, Block 338, Western Division, located at 1703 Santa Isabel Avenue. The zone change request is from M1, Light Manufacturing District, to R1, Single Family Residential District. The proposed use is residential. 14 letters were sent out to the surrounding property owners. None were received for or against. This is a location map. This is an aerial view. This is a street view. This is a zoning map. As you can see, it's located, it's all in one there. This is a future land use. It's designated all light industrial. And in this case, staff supports the proposed zone change. While the proposed zone change is not in conformance with the future land uses designation of light industrial, we feel that construction of a light industrial type use on this very narrow lot is unlikely. The zone change will then therefore allow for uses that are compatible with the residential uses on that block. For those reasons, we do support. The motion is to recommend approval or denial, and there is a call-in number.
All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against? For or against?
We do not have anyone at the line at the moment, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then let me ask you this. I'm sorry, Vanessa, what was the lot size? Is it a standard 69 by 138?
It's half of that, so it's even smaller.
Okay, so it's probably a 40, yeah. Looks like it's a 42 by 138.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, okay. All right. All right, so this is a public hearing. We don't have anybody on the line to speak for or against this. What are the wishes of the commission?
Commissioner Narvaez, motion to approve or recommend the zone staff's recommendation.
Second, Dovalina.
Second by Dovalina. Those of you who are not in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. All right, next item that we have is review and consideration of the following master plan. Review and consideration of the Copper Creek subdivision master plan. The intent is residential. The purpose of this revision is Las Mujeres Drive from the master plan as it has been integrated and is being constructed as part of Los Presidentes East subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rafael Vidauri for the record. The applicant of record is MRMD Development. The engineer is Manuel E. Escamilla, SMB Infrastructure. Approximately 43 acres located east of Cuatro Vientos, Loop 20, and north of Wormser Road. The zoning for this 302 lot development is R1A, and the proposed use is residential. General location, aerial view, street view, and the proposed master plan. Comments from planning, water utilities, traffic safety, parks and leisure, and the proposed motion.
All right. Do you have the engineer of record on the line?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Commission, Mr. Chairman. Manuel Escamilla, representing MRMD. We've gone through the comments. Everything is in line with discussions we've had with the department, so we concur with all the comments and are ready to move forward.
Okay. Ralph, can you put back the aerial overview of that particular area? I need to look at something.
Is that one?
No, that one. No,
that one.
That one. All right. Now, what I'm seeing on this particular overview is it looks like there's some creek areas or green spots in this area. Manuel, I'm not sure what I don't know what the topography is. I'm kind of familiar with the area, and this topography has a lot of slope areas and stuff, and looks like there's some kind of a creek that goes through this particular property that you're master planning. Is that not a big concern at all in terms of drainage for you?
So you are correct, sir. The topography has a lot of relief to it. None of it is in the floodplain, nor is it in any designated waters for the U.S. It's just low land, and those are all things that we take into consideration when doing the design and moving and filling the area with the dirt and working with the drainage. So it does cost a little bit more to deal with it, but all within reason.
Okay. All right. That answers the question. Thank you. Now, does anybody else have any questions?
Just one comment, quick comment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
One of the biggest problems that I actually see for the persons that are going to be people that are going to buy there is that probably the slope on their lots is going to be very intense. The regrading will be addressed when they bring it back to us, Vanessa.
I'm sorry, Rafael, can you speak to that?
Absolutely. So during the plat approval process, because this is residential, they'll be designing to either drain the lots either to the front or to the back based on the engineering design, but they will take into account to make sure that the water does drain away from the residential structures. And that'll be through the plat approval process.
Okay.
And the access to Cuatro Vientos is going to be through Wright Ranch, or is there going to be another road constructed?
Currently, sir, we will be connecting to Isla Mujeres to the north, and I know that the developer to the west is also in the process of extending Beefalo to their property line, which would connect to us. So for the immediate future, our connection would be through Isla Mujeres, and eventually.
Master plan.
I don't see Isla Mujeres on
Val, you put up the master plan? Right there. All right, where is Isla Las Mujeres here?
Isla Mujeres is right, pretty much north and south road. That's right in the middle on the Los Presidentes East subdivision.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
And so that goes north and dead ends?
No, sir. That ties in just about 1,000 feet north of what you're seeing. Will tie into to Los Presidentes Boulevard that is
The one that's currently
starting
being
construction.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, so that's
I move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Dominguez.
Dominguez seconds. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard. Motion carries. Next item.
Thank you all very much.
Review and consideration of Windmill Subdivision Master Plan. The intent is residential and commercial.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, we have received correspondence from the engineer to have this item tabled.
All right. We have a motion to table.
Motion to table.
Second. We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
And a second. All those not in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Next item, preliminary consideration of the following preliminary plats. Preliminary consideration of the plat well of Windmill Subdivision. So I imagine this one will be tabled also?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. We did receive correspondence to have this item tabled.
Okay. So,
So
motion to
moved.
table. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Dominguez.
Dominguez seconds. All those who are not in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Next item, preliminary consideration of the plat of Opal Road extension. 60-foot right-of-way dedication plat. The intent is right-of-way dedication. Okay?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Next slide. Oh, there we go. For the record, the applicant is Garrett Forthuber, engineer of record, civil engineering consultants, approximately 24,000 square feet, located east of US Highway 83 South and north of Cielito Lindo Boulevard. The zoning for this development is B1 and is just right-of-way dedication.
Okay.
General location, aerial view, street view, the proposed plat, comments from planning and water utilities, utility coordination, and the proposed motion.
Rob, can you put back the plat, the dedicated plat of the street? All right, now, this dedication is going to the public, is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. Will be a tie-in to the future Las Aldeas development, which phase 1 has already come in for preliminary approval. So this is a necessary tie-in to be able to connect to Cielito Lindo.
All right, who is going to construct this particular road or street?
This will be the same developers as Las Aldeas.
Okay.
Which is
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Garrett Forthuber.
So the developer's going to make the road.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Where is the fire station located in relation to the road?
If I'm not mistaken, the fire station, if I'm not mistaken, is to the west, slightly to the west.
What do you mean by slightly?
Okay, let me get a quick measurement. It'll be approximately about 700 feet to the west.
Thank you.
All right. What are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to the following comments. Not advice?
Second, Ugalde.
Second by Ugalde. All those who are not in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Next item, preliminary consideration of Vaquero Boulevard 90-foot right-of-way dedication plan. Right away.
For the record, the applicant is United Independent School District. The engineer of record is Civil Engineering Consultants, approximately 2.3 acres, located west of FM 1472 and north of World Trade Bridge. The current zoning for this development is AG, and the proposed use is right of way. General location, aerial view, street view, the proposed plat, comments from planning and water utilities, utility coordination and traffic safety, and the proposed motion.
Okay, do we have the engineer of record on?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. Andres Rubio with Civil Engineering Consultants. We concur with the comments.
Okay, very good. Does anybody having any questions for the engineer of record on the commission?
Am I correct to assume that there is a requirement on this roadway for a bicycle lane? Is that correct?
Do we have the city engineer on?
I don't believe he is on.
All right, so I know in the past there was Governing stating that there was Kirby had wanted to put bicycle lanes on this particular roadway. I don't think it's a good idea at all because of the traffic generated by the school and the buses and cars. And I guess that's why the question is up.
Mr. Chairman, is Danny McGee? Can I speak?
Yes, Danny.
The intent is to have a bicycle lanes. We're following the Viva Laredo plan for this road, so it will encompass bicycle lanes.
As a requirement?
Yes. Actually, we will be presenting in a future meeting, I guess, I'm not sure how you call it, a motion to have this street designated as an arterial, so we can have the necessary streets and keep all the assets that are required by the Viva Laredo plan.
You know, I know we passed that active transportation plan, which is an oxymoron in my thought, but you know, we're addressing 5% of the population, and in a school where busing, and I would assume, I see some of the UISD people on here, I would assume that about 70 to 80% of the students that are going to come to the school are going to be on buses. And you mix the buses with bicycles, and you're going to have the same problem that you have cars with tractor trailers, where the bus driver doesn't see the bicycle. And the potential for having a really tragic accident is there. I think we need to have more common sense than to put bicycle lanes going into schools when nobody's going to use them, and if they do use them, they're putting their life at risk. Or you're putting bicycle lanes in industrial areas like Santa Maria that was constructed in order to put tractor trailers on, and the city spent millions of dollars, and then you go destroy it by putting in a bicycle lane and making it even more dangerous for the cars that transit through those areas. I'm totally against putting a bicycle lane in this street, and I just want to voice my opposition to that.
Thank you. I have to concur with Commissioner Molina. I am in the same opinion. Common sense needs to prevail on these things, and you can't mix bicycles with buses. This is not a very good idea at all by whoever thought it out. And I think what we need to do here, in my opinion, is probably accept this right away, make a motion that pretty much states that we would be against bicycle lanes being constructed on this particular street.
I would make that motion, Chairman.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Dueñas.
Second from Dueñas. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Ugalde, I'm sorry, I'm not in favor of the motion. I agree with bicycle lane.
Me too, Sadapas too, because we need to consider also
I mean, the
that
reason people don't bike to the school
Yeah.
is because there are no lanes for them to ride bikes, and buses don't go fast. I mean, yeah, there's
they
common
have to
sense that you
stop
need to implement,
also.
but
Yeah.
Okay.
so this happens and so this planning activity happens all over the country. I've been around cities where there's buses and trucks and bikes right next door, and they coexist, no problem.
All right, so you're against, and so is Commissioner Sada. All right, we have
Yes.
the motion carries. All right, the next item is the preliminary consideration of the plat of UISD Juan Roberto Ramirez Middle School. The intent is institutional.
For the record, the applicant is United Independent School District. The engineer of record is Civil Engineering Consultants. Approximately 32.86 acres located west of FM 1472 and north of World Trade Bridge. The zoning for this one lot development is AG, and the proposed use is institutional. General location. Aerial view. Street view. The proposed plat. Comments from planning and water utilities. Utility coordination. And the proposed motion.
Okay. Do we have the engineer of record on?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. Andres Rubio with CEC. We concur with the comments.
All right, thank you. What are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to approve, subject to the following comments, not advice.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Dueñas.
Dueñas seconds. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. All right, the next items that we have are their final plats and final replats. And we can, I think we can have a motion to take them all as one. If we can have somebody give me a motion. 7A, 7B, 8A. We have a motion. We have a second.
Second, Lugo.
Lugo seconds. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. So we now have a motion for approval. There's only one thing that I do want to comment on, but before we make the motion here is that, you know, there's a lot of subdivisions that are being constructed right now. We as a commission some time ago went ahead and changed some ordinances to allow rear lot drainage. I think we need to look at these things in terms of when subdivisions are getting constructed into the future, we need to look at the grading plan to make sure that those grading plans are not going to create havoc for the new homeowners. That's a comment that I want on the record only. Now I will take a motion for approval of these things.
Motion to approve, not advice.
Advice, motion, is there a second?
Second, Dueñas.
Plenty of seconds. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. We now going into item 9. This is consideration of the extension of the following plat, which is the Leden subdivision unit 11. The intent is residential. This is item 9A.
Did we skip 8A?
Yeah, the item was approved. I believe.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, it was approved, yeah.
Bingo. There you go.
Okay.
We're now at 9A.
All right. Next slide, please.
Sorry.
The applicant for the record is Mimosa 2. Engineer of record is Porras Nance, approximately 19.8 acres, located south of Sierra Vista, and the zoning for this 100 lot development is R1A, and the proposed use is residential. And they're just coming in for an additional 6-month extension. And the proposed motion.
All right. What are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to approve, not advice.
Advice, motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Novalina. All those who are not in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Item 10, discussion and recommendations. The first item that we have is the discussion recommendation on the adoption of an amendment to the future thoroughfare plan as Appendix B of the City of Laredo Comprehensive Plan to modify the functional classification of the proposed Taquero Boulevard from a collector and minor arterial to a principal arterial throughout. All right?
Mr. Chairman, this item comes from our traffic department. I think he'd like to speak to this.
Perfect.
Mr. McGee?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. This was proposed to match the thoroughfare plan to the area that's, I guess, to the north. The road will continue. It's also so that we can provide enough lanes to handle the traffic with expected school traffic and the subdivisions that are through there. If you go by the Laredo comprehensive plans we have right now, it will only require 3 lanes, but there was 90 feet dedicated, so we have enough room to put in 5 lanes to handle the traffic through that area. That's the reason this was proposed.
Okay. All right. What are the wishes of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
The Arquero Boulevard is going to be outside of the area that was originally a private roadway or private development where La Bota and all of its streets within it were not accepted by the city and in fact were private roads. Has that continued, and is this in that subdivision or is it away from that subdivision, adjacent to it?
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Commissioner, this area or the proposal is actually shifting away from that area.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the commission? All right. What are the wishes of the commission?
I move to approve.
Got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Dueñas.
Dueñas seconds. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carried. Last item. Discussion and recommendation regarding the amendment of the Laredo Land Development Code, Article 4, Section 24.63.2, entitled Permitted Land Uses to permit amusement services indoors in the RO and in the B1 zoning districts and limiting the hours during which amusement services may provide outdoor music. The proposed amendment is intended to provide opportunities for investment and revitalization of the downtown area. All right.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The ordinance proposes to allow amusement services indoors in both the RO and B1 districts. The current ordinance allows the amusement services indoors in the, let me pull it up, in the CBD. It allows it in the AE, the CBD, and up. And so this ordinance would allow it in the RO and B1 as well. The proposed ordinance would also limit the hours during which these services would be able to provide outdoor music. What we are proposing is that if they're located in the RO, they would have to limit music to 10 p.m. from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. on Sunday through Thursday. So basically the week times, and then on the weekends from midnight to 10 a.m. Friday and Saturday. The impact is that the intention is to promote renewed investment in our downtown area by allowing the conversion of vacant residential structures to event centers or reception halls. Staff recommends that this commission send a positive recommendation to council on the proposed amendment.
Vanessa, this is intended for downtown. You wanted to extend the CBD district? Is that what you're thinking here, or what?
No, it's not the extension of the boundaries. It's the allowance of that use in those districts.
which is adjacent to CBD is really what your intent is, right?
That's correct. The ROs are very much adjacent to the CBD.
But it does not prevent anybody who's in an RO district from having this situation where somebody can go up and do something similar in another part of town that is not in the downtown area.
That is correct.
Well, is
It would be citywide for all RO districts.
So what are the issues related to parking, and how would you address those when you have limited parking already in the downtown area?
Well, in the historic RO districts, there was an ordinance amendment passed whereby 50% of the parking can be waived by the building official, and the remaining 50% of the remaining 50% that is required can be accommodated by on-street parking. So that's in the historic RO districts, parking only is required for 25% of the actual required parking.
So you're saying that these services, amusement and event centers, would be allowed in ROs in the historic district? Or are you going to destroy the historic district?
The intention is to try to repurpose abandoned historic homes that are sitting vacant and able to be repurposed to these sorts of uses. We've had quite a lot of interest in creating these, converting these homes into event centers.
And so by amusement services, you're indirectly talking about maquinitas?
No, maquinitas under the code are covered under amusement redemption machine establishments.
So what are amusement services?
They're the definition is, let me pull it up. In general, amusement services indoors are buildings or structures principally devoted to recreational activities or leisure and recreational services to the public or members. Examples include event centers and reception halls.
This sounds like a complicated ordinance, and just as a first blush, I think it's going to be a difficult ordinance to enforce, and it's going to, on the enforcement side, with the hours and the different things that you're talking about, that I see some problems in trying to even enforce these activities that are being recommended. But that's just my opinion.
You know, let me add to that a little bit. If we're going to go to event centers, the fire code is going to come in, and it's going to require sprinkler systems on a lot of these buildings. And so that's a bigger issue also that comes into play, because then it makes those structures maybe totally unfeasible to handle something like this. This is a tough ordinance, because there's two things. The policing of this ordinance is going to be tough in different areas. And obviously, the uses that are going to be designated are, fire code issues also.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, this is Ugalde. I have a question for staff and a comment as well. So just to give me some clarity, the change to the ordinance change, does that apply citywide? Did I hear correctly? That applies to all the what's the name of the ROs?
Yes, sir.
So if your objective was to enhance downtown attractive, why not just restrict it to downtown?
There's some law, and I would hesitate to speak on behalf of our legal department, but having spot rules for just certain areas, there's some issues involved there.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that would be the solution to overcome those issues, because making it citywide is an issue that I see. When we don't need it citywide, we need it downtown. And now, I don't think it was well thought out. Going to the chairman's point about the historic districts and fire sprinkler systems, we had a similar item that came to our, I mean, I don't know if you remember a couple years ago when someone wanted to open up a library serving alcohol, and the residents didn't want the alcohol because they feared that their kids were in danger from drunks or something. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. It didn't go through, and I don't know what happened if they were able to open up their business or not. Now you're allowing amusement centers.
Yeah,
You're
yes,
gonna have
sir.
loud music and you're gonna have alcohol, right?
They were allowed to open. The bookstore was allowed to open. I guess
Yeah, but
just,
with a lot of work on their part to get it open, a lot of restrictions as well.
what I was thinking is that as a possible amendment to this ordinance, we could possibly change it just to allow it located in the historic RO district.
Well, I think that's what we're all, saying, because the other thing that I was thinking of is you can make it a zoning overlay, where you just designate this particular type of activity that you're looking at in and around the downtown area up to a certain point. Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
So what I'm hearing is, as a possible amendment to the ordinance, is to allow the amusement services in the historic RO district and not in the B1.
Well, let me ask you this. You were the one that brought this, and obviously you said there was a lot of people, I don't know how much is a lot, that were interested in doing something like that, but if it's one or two people, and if it's something that, I just don't see how, to be honest with you, doing this particular activity from a business point of view is going to make sense. I don't see it at this point. I know that you're trying to open up particular buildings that are abandoned, but you need to look at this thing from a business point of view. If I'm going to open up an older business that I have, and I've got to spend a lot of money, I don't see that at this point. I think it's something that if the intent is to enhance development downtown, then it should be specifically catered to the historic district. That's my opinion.
And Mr. Chairman, this is Ugalde. And if they could also take it from an investor's perspective and step by step what an investor would want to do to open, what they need to do as far as fire code and the money associated with that, and then implement that into their change. And maybe they could have a clearer perspective on how this thing would actually work in practice, not in theory.
Right.
Yes, this is Daniela Sada. I wanted to, I agree with Mr. Chairman and with Ugalde to do it only on the downtown area in the historic part, and also with them putting everything together. I think that would be great, just to pick up downtown, because there's a lot of places that are abandoned.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you would consider a motion to table to give staff an opportunity to rework the ordinance and bring it back, addressing some of the concerns that the commissioners have expressed, and if you would consider it, I would move to table.
That's exactly where I was headed, Larry. And we have a motion from Commissioner Lovalino to table this item. Let the staff work on it a little bit better. Do we have a second?
Second, Dueñas, for the table.
All right, all those who are not in favor, who are not in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. We don't have a chairman's report anymore. Vanessa, I do want to make one comment. I know that the governor has signed into law that governments have to open up. And so I am going to ask you that our next meeting be in person in our normal meeting place downtown.
Yeah, it looks like City Council is going towards letting the public into their meetings, and that was our intention, that our next meeting would be in person, and we'll definitely, let everybody know if anything happens to change that, but that was our intention.
Very good, very good, thank you. Then we have a motion to adjourn. A motion
I
from
wanted-
Daniela. I'm sorry, go ahead, Daniela.
I wanted to ask something. And can it be like also hybrid, for example, to be present and for people that can't go be online? Just a proposal, I think.
I think they have to look at what the governor's order said.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and they have to follow whatever the governor's orders are. So whatever that order is what has to happen. But certainly, if it does allow for a hybrid, I mean, it just makes it, I think, something that can be looked at, you know. But we just need to follow what the mandates of the law is right now. All right, motion to adjourn. Okay, then I want to thank you all very much. It was a very good meeting, and we'll hopefully see you all at the next meeting. Thank you and welcome aboard, Daniela Sala.
Bienvenida,
Thank you.
Daniela. Felicidades.
Thank you. I have a lot of questions.